Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creatives DAO event launch. And sadly, kind of, or maybe, happy in some ways, the hackathon close. So I am Chloe Lewis, and I'm joined here with Rebecca Halquist. So for those who may not know who we are or who I am yet, I am the CreateBase co-facilitator. So CreateBase is a DAO or a guild, a group in the Near community. We focus on supporting the Mint-based community, and so I help support that. I am also on the Near community team, community squad with Rebecca, and I support the Near adoption there. So kind of getting people on board with all this new Web3 tech like DAOs and tokens and all that stuff. I am trying my best to support in that sense. So Rebecca over here, who you might not know, is one of my actually oldest childhood friends and is newly on the community team.
Yes.
So I'll let you introduce yourself, Rebecca.
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is my official debut as part of the Near community team and also as co-counsel with Chloe on the Creatives DAO. So a little bit about me and my background. I do come, I guess, more from the arts world in the sense of arts management and also event marketing. So what that basically means is that I worked for a lot of arts festivals and helped manage the logistics of the event and also community outreach and community building through that. And just recently did an MBA. I don't necessarily recommend it for online learning, but hey, if it's something that you're thinking about, I can also chat about that with you. But generally speaking, I'm a lover of all things arts and a supporter and an amateur singer and an amateur theater kid and all that jazz. So that was an intentional reference, by the way.
Singer, I remember those. See, this is for me, this is the fun part because I've been supporting the creative space in Near for a while now. I got on board with doing my first proposal actually for CreateBase about maybe 6 months ago now. Maybe a bit longer. I did my first proposal building in crypto voxels. And I submitted back then on the Notion forum they had, and we had a completely different process. And we've taken a while to kind of, Jordan saying, nice shirt. Yeah, I love your Near swag.
Right? Thank you.
There,
yes, repping the swag. It's rainbow time in so many respects. Rainbow Bridge, Pride Month, Pride About Pride.
Yes.
So thank you. I appreciate that.
My background is nothing to do with, usually arts. And so it's been great to kind of have some support moving forward in the community squad in general from someone with an arts background, theater and such.
This is what you do, folks. If you need support, find ways to get your friends hired.
Always helpful.
But it's definitely been in the past 3 weeks actually really fascinating to not only get to know more for me personally about blockchain and also the Near ecosystem and the wider Near community, because I have come with basically what knowledge I could get from Chloe's YouTube videos. That was like my entry into this space. They're good videos. See, I'm gonna shout that out right now. So everyone check those out. But additionally, trying to figure out ways for others like me who have a very small frame of reference for anything related to Web3 and blockchain is part of why I think it's so important that we have, and it's been talked a lot in the hackathon, like educational workshops, different onboarding techniques. And for creatives, especially given the NFT boom, shall we call it, it's like this is a group who need that sort of support more than ever. And that's something that I think we're all passionate about at Near generally, but Chloe and I in particular, when we've been having our Creatives DAO like planning sessions, it's just been like, and then we can do this, and then we can do that.
Yeah, we're definitely getting a bit lost at times on all the creative, wonderful ideas. And most of you were hopefully here a few hours ago with the MetaGov Challenge presentations and seeing the kind of ideas that people come up with. And we realized that these primitives in the crypto space, social tokens or NFTs, or even getting DAO spun up. We saw, Aaron's, Catalyst version of a DAO. So even though we're using, for example, Sputnik DAOs, in through this hackathon for submissions of payout proposals. There's different types of DAOs. For example, so, with Catalyst, it's like using the Meta Cartel DAO. So we have all different ways of figuring out how are we going to govern our communities online. So for Rebecca and I, we are this is about the Creatives DAO launch. So what this session is going to be talking about, a lot of it is what does that Creatives DAO launch look like? But that's kind of what we've been seeing over the past 3 weeks of this hackathon is what does it look like to govern an online community? What does it look like to govern an in-person community? We saw Araj and Tabea was talking about how they were going to, try and incorporate some of these Web3 ideas into their community. And what does it look like across multiple, across different spans? So we've been getting so excited kind of talking about how it's going to look for us and how also, I know, Rebecca, how we can turn those into playbooks for the rest of the community so that if you're someone who's coming into the Near ecosystem and you're like, hey, what's out here for me to build on top of for my community? Hopefully there will only be tech for you to build with, but also playbooks for you to learn from and see what's been done before. Do you want to build in the similar setting, or do you want to try something new and kind of go on your own adventure with your community and build some new tools, which would be awesome as well? Yeah,
there's so much to play with. And so that's why when we're talking about the launch of the Creatives DAO and who we are and what we're hoping to be doing, a lot of that comes from, first of all, how do we fit in what's already going on? And what can you expect moving forward? You might have actually already gotten a little bit of a like a teaser or like a taste for this based on me spamming you in all the various Telegram channels when we had our soft launch this past Monday. That was me. You're welcome. And so I'm just going to go over quickly at a bit of a higher level here. Oh, of course this would happen. Of course this would happen to me. Yay. Okay. Bear with me, folks, as the slides load.
Looks like it's coming up. So you're waiting for it to load. You should sing us your favorite theater song.
No, that is not happening music right now. That'll be later. That'll be later by request. So here's just to start. If you don't know how to find us or talk to us or who we are, these are our handles. Please use them. Please reach out to us if you have any questions following our chat here today, or just if you want to talk about any creative idea you're excited about. We're here for that. We're very interested in hearing that. So wanted to first shout out with thanks and gratitude our designer for these visuals. So Bianca at Bianca Creates. Thank you. Appreciate you very much. And so this is what went up as part of our guide and our introduction. Yeah, nice. And our introduction to the wider ecosystem, to the near world, as we had our soft launch this past Monday. And so I've been trying to figure out like the best metaphor to describe like who we are, what it is we're going to be doing, and a lot of our main mission really is through support, right? So funding, and how do we support people, and how does that all work out? So think of us as like the parents. Chloe and I are going to be great parents. We're going to take real good care of you.
Awesome.
We'll
parents.
help you grow up. We're going to help you grow up to realize your dreams.
We'll do our best.
Yes, your creative dreams. So consider that there are going to be other parents out in the ecosystem. So these are all these different, what we're calling DAO verticals. So these are these overarching DAO governance structures. There will be a privacy DAO, a marketing DAO, a creators, earners DAO. There will be more to come, so stay tuned. The Creatives DAO is just one of many to start. And so from the, I guess, grandparent, if I'm taking this metaphor further, the grandparent fund that is the Community Squad DAO then helps like flow funding downward to all of us different parent DAOs.
Yeah, and this is kind of just showing a different kind of stage what we saw earlier. When people were talking about, reimagining the community fund. Again, Aaron was talking about, how could Catalyst reimagine, the community fund and, all these funds that have to go up to the community at some point. So this is kind of showing the next stage of that. So there's this, this grandpa stage or this, this grandparent stage of funds. That funds into this stage that we're talking about now, which is the Creatives DAO. We have the Creatives DAO, Privacy DAO, other topics. And then beneath that, you're going to, we have the hackathon. We have all these different creatives, DAOs, bounty DAOs, we called them, beneath that. And look at this. Wow. Look at this wonderful flow we
so
have.
here's what, as your parents, here's what you could expect by way of support. So as the ones trying to help all the different guilds and DAOs realize their creative dreams and bring all those different creative projects as a result of the hackathon or otherwise to their realization, to fruition. That's conversations that will happen with and through us. So some guilds have already started this, which has been really great, but posting on a monthly basis, planning things in such a way that you're looking ahead a little, you're evaluating what's already come up and what's happening, so that we can ensure that you have adequate funding to then pass on to, I guess, your nieces and nephews, however this works out. So all of the other folks within the ecosystem who are trying to bring creative projects to life and require support. And so at the moment, and how we're hoping that this might make a bit more sense here, is if looking at on the converse end, so you're an individual and you want funding for your creative project, and you're looking for collaborators, you're looking for partners, you're trying to make this happen, you would look in the ecosystem to see what guilds and DAOs already exist who are pursuing similar work. So you're thinking, okay, I'm a musician, I'd like to have something happen there. You're looking at the NXM Guild. If you're thinking about something a bit more broadly in terms of just generally creative, maybe you're connecting with CreateBase, and so on and so forth. So then that next level of like our children, so to speak, of the CreateBases and the NXMs and the VR and the social token, that whole crew then on a monthly basis would be in discussions with the two of us as part of the Creatives DAO Council, saying this is what we're trying to make happen. These are the projects that we're investing in. And then there would be a monthly submission of your general asks, because of all the projects that you've already looked at and you're already excited about and have voted through within your own governance structures, then get sort of like, they flow up the chain, so to speak, to us, the parents, to then say, of course, our children, here is the funding that we can give you to help make it happen, and we'll work collaboratively together to have that all come to the world.
Yeah, this really helps us to kind of support as many projects as possible. So instead of Rebecca and I being out there trying to evaluate every single project across the entire community, which would be impossible to happen in an efficient way, we use these, child DAOs or DAOs that are beneath us, these sub DAOs, to kind of be the specialists in these categories. So they submit these monthly reports to us saying, hey, these are the projects in our specific community or specific topic that we think we should be funding. We'll say, hey, we trust your judgment. You guys seem to be, experts in the area. You've done a good job in the past with your proposals. So we are going to approve that month's budget. And that allows that DAO or that topic to then go ahead and support its own community. And this is just the way we're starting it. Some people will ask us, what's going to happen in the future of these DAOs? How is this going to work, maybe 6 months from now, a year from now? And the idea is we're hoping that these DAOs become self-sufficient communities. So we're not, the be all and end all isn't that, the near community squad funds communities for, to the end of time. The goal is that we support communities, and funding is one way of providing support, and that this is the funding mechanism we're putting forth currently, and this will change and evolve. But there's other ways of receiving support as well. So maybe how do we ensure that as our community receives funds, those funds allow us to have a community that lasts a long time. We're having economic security for our community. Maybe that would require us helping that community set up a token, or maybe other set up a DApp so that some of the funds from the DApp go back into the DAO's treasury. But yeah, love this graphic here showing how people can come. So if you're interested in any of this, please come through.
Yes. But another thing that I wanted to build on as well, because you're talking about things beyond finances with support. And so that's going to be a huge part of, and get ready for this terminology, folks, if you're not familiar, Community OS. It's in my title. So it's something that will mean ultimately forms of support in addition to funding. So by way of platform development, by way of template and resource development. So ways in which we as the parent DAO, say, and then also as representatives of the community squad as well, these are conversations we want to be having with all of specifically creatives in the community, but then also the community members widely about what is it that you need to succeed with the projects that you have running or that you want to see happen. And through that level of conversation, we could be building tools to help you achieve those ends, or we're finding ways in which we can help fund. We're finding ways also to be connectors to get other people who might have similar interests, who are working on similar projects, to help you connect with one another so that you're able to build things that are more sustainable and stronger. So the support can come in many different forms. It's just kind of, as Chloe was saying, immediately funding ends up being like the first thing that is a key focus to make anything.
I've heard it many times, but like the whole idea of help somebody earn before you help them learn. And I definitely take that to heart, where
I mean, that.
Like we all have things that we want to learn, and we all have things we want to teach. So a lot of times marketing comes down to how do you get someone to learn what you're trying to teach them. And so the idea is if this tech is truly valuable, and if this tech can truly support a community, then maybe there's ways that it can support the community economically. And from there could be other problems it can solve. And we see this with, DeFi being the largest problem that blockchain, or the flashiest problem that
it's a pretty
blockchain
sexy problem.
solves.
Yeah.
And then from there, people start to dig into other problems. And now where people are seeing, maybe entertainment and things for fun, digging down into governance, which is kind of what we're digging into, which is, kind of getting into there. But, what kind of tools can we build? Whether it's stats pages, dashboards, there might be a whole various.
So many dashboards. So excited for the dashboards.
We do love our dashboards. So, this is going to come up soon. So if you are in the community and you also love dashboards for seeing how your community is doing, especially on-chain metrics for dashboards, we're definitely going to have some opportunities for the community to let us know what you'd like to see. Maybe it's, digging deeper into Sputnik DAO proposals, maybe digging deeper into like what type of forum proposals are getting voted up in the community would be kind of cool to see. And so we'll definitely get there as well.
I want to respond to one of the comments in the chat. So saying that, I think it's, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Torsten, talking about how having our children DAOs and guilds running around permissionless sort of breaks the parent metaphor. It did get out of hand. I'm not going to lie. I did not think that this metaphor would run as long as it did. But here's the thing. We are modern parents who believe in empowering our children. So if they want to go out and create a new platform for creatives to get along and to like build something within VR, for instance, we'd be like, yes, children, go forth, make that happen. It's not to set up any sort of, I was trying to use language that wouldn't set up any sort of endless dependency structure. Because as Chloe was mentioning, this is a tool toward the end of decentralized community empowerment, right? So we don't need our children to be with us forever. They can leave the nest at some point. And this comes close to home for me particularly, you can also come back home if you need to at any point, there's, you can be a boomerang, you can be a boomerang kid and come back as you need.
And that is a valid point. And I think this is actually, to a quick tangent, we help birth these DAOs and we help DAOs get set up. So we have, Minting Music is a DAO that, we've been helping get it set up really recently. True. And they've been in the crypto space for a while. There's a group from Nashville hoping to, bring near to different festivals, not only in the States, but also, in Manchester and globally. Which will be a super cool project, but they don't really know much about DAOs or how Near works specifically. And so we might, Rebecca and I might have to really and truly kind of onboard these communities from start. Yes. But a lot of these communities hopefully will go through that process very quickly and we'll figure out, they might want to use a token on another chain and use governance on Near and then use their token on Ethereum. And use the Rainbow Bridge to, have consensus or, group consensus being achieved on Near for their community and then have their assets, earning on some DeFi protocol. And so that could be something that a community decides to do. And then maybe they decide, oh, hey, you know what? Like you said, come back to the nest. We'd still like to run an event, Can we get some support, from Near in that sense? And that's perfectly acceptable. We kind of want these DAOs that in the community or communities within Near that have DAOs, whichever way you want to kind of see it, DAOs are kind of just a tool. We want to see these communities kind of really figure out what works best for them. So maybe on-chain governance isn't what works best for a community, and a DAO isn't, the right tool. And that's perfectly acceptable as well. And we do cater to that. So I want to make that perfectly clear too. So you don't have to have a DAO to receive funding from the community, from the Creators DAO, or to receive any kind of support from the Creators DAO. So if you're just within the Near community and you want to get support for your creative project, you can get support from us regardless. And making that perfectly clear. A DAO is a tool that kind of hopefully support your community.
Yeah, the power of DAOs is exciting, and it's been something we've been talking a lot about this hackathon. But yeah, it's the point of whatever works best for you and for the project you're developing and the work that you're doing. And if you are someone who's like, yes, I want to run with this, I want to see what happens, then yes, please go forth. But if you're a bit more reticent, if you're a bit more concerned, it's a matter of us helping you along and as close, maybe not birthing, but like being midwives to this process. Yes, evergreen metaphor. Or it's maybe something that we're just finding other ways of giving that support in different governance structures. And experimenting with governance structures is always open. And always something we want to support too.
Yes, please.
But in creatives DAO things, because it was a good tangent, and now we're back. Now we're back to why we're all here, and we'd actually like to invite up a fellow colleague to talk and share a bit about the. Oh yeah, I like that you're so active in the chat, Jordan, because you're about to be active in this talk. So our colleague Jordan, we'd like to invite you up as a surprise special guest. He was not on the billing, but here he is. To share a bit about what's coming up, what's next in terms of creatives projects, as it relates to the creative DAO and as it relates to sort of the Near community generally. So. Hello, Jordan. Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me. And see, I'll hit present, so this is full screen for everybody. I hope that's working. I can't see any thumbs up now, so if there's questions from the chat, please share them with your voice. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to run through a few of the themes that we saw from the hack, because there's certainly some really cool stuff going on. And to continue with the parents analogy,
yes,
I hate playing favorites. So if your project isn't here, don't feel bad, but just wanted to highlight some themes. And most importantly, this is just the start. The hackathon was to kick all of this energy off, and now we can run with it and build awesome things together. So to dive right in, one of the really cool themes that we saw throughout the hackathon was social causes, and the Prison Art Project is a really good example of that by Fuzzy Dice. And the idea with this one is that there's an in-prison creator work release program. They recognized a problem that a lot of the folks that wind up incarcerated get reincarcerated because they can't pay fees that happen when they get out of prison. So this is a program to help set up a fund to manage those kinds of fees. And yeah, there's other social causes as well throughout the hackathon. We're going to be doing a wrap-up video, kind of a sizzler that will hopefully cover more ground besides just these few highlights that I have today. Another really big theme was kind of the onboarding of handicrafts. So taking traditional arts and helping those original creators either benefit by getting their art on chain or preserve their culture by bringing it on chain. And this particular project is about Indian art forms. And what I liked about this proposal, and one of the reasons that I highlighted it, was that they had very clear steps for what they were going to accomplish and very reasonable goals for like their monthly plan of even getting 5 artists onboarded a month. And as I've been talking with a lot of projects about what they're building, one of the things I've been reiterating is that the measurement isn't to set up some grand lofty goal of, oh, we're going to onboard 1 million people. It's it's more about just setting up some metrics for yourself so that you know what's important and you have something to measure. So if you are about onboarding, saying, okay, let's set a goal of onboarding 5 artists a month. Maybe you'll wind up doing 3, maybe you'll wind up doing 10, but at least you have an idea of where to put your energy to meet your goal. A project similar to that one is Wix app, and this one is for Mexican original creators. And then similar to that is the idea of onboarding writers. And there were several projects onboarding writers, and shouts out to Frederico and Juliana who are in the chat and participating today, who also had similar projects to this. So Weissong H had the idea of doing a DApp to help writers get feedback and funding to actually complete their novels or book projects. And then Vug had an idea similar to this for crowdfunding. So another overall theme is seeing a lot of projects exploring similar things makes me want them to at least talk to each other and explore where their overlap and experiences could benefit each other, even if the projects remain independent. Just having several projects working on the kind of like problem of helping poets and writers and original creators and so on explore the blockchain is that there's sure to be some shared learnings. And this also circles back to the community OS that Rebecca and Chloe were mentioning, in that we'd like to find what works best and document it and make it part of a system that allows people to just pick up the playbooks and other resources and be successful in bringing their communities to the chains. Another big theme was social tokens, and social tokens is one of those things that goes so deep. There's so much to think about and explore with social tokens. There was 2 projects that are doing social tokens around beer. So Crypto Credit and Fritz Jose and Luis are all working on beer. So I guess beer is as popular as social tokens. Another big theme was generative art. So actually, during the hackathon, Matt released a new NFT platform specifically for generative art. And this is live on testnet now if you want to go make some code art. And his one-liner for it is that it's code pen for NFTs. Gaming, another big theme. One of the themes in the gaming and actually over all of the projects was this idea of bridging real life communities and physical events with on-chain happenings and what happens when you bring those things together. So the NFT Passport was one of those projects where it started as an onboarding project of bringing creators from all around the world to the chain and having them sell their kind of like souvenir style NFTs on the chain, but the overall theme was more of like almost a I'm losing the words for it, but a treasure hunt. Is that the right word? Some kind of like treasure hunt, where DeLorean is a similar thing where you hunt for NFTs around the world. So I think that next hackathon, we should probably have a category just for that bridging of the physical and digital, because that was seen not only in the gaming, but also like Araz Studio had a lot of crossover between the physical and the digital. So very strong theme. And then getting into virtual reality had some more cultural explorations. This one is by Precious Princess. Exploring Black history using a virtual map. And then there was a lot of projects that had the idea of using VR or using NFTs as access tokens. And whenever I see NFTs as access tokens, I definitely think that there's a use case there. But I always want people to also think about NFTs as a proof of participation, because when the space is as young as it is, and we're just trying our hardest to get people to come to our VR events, come to our air meets, etc., most of the time you want to use whatever you can as marketing tools to get people to participate and be part of it, rather than putting up another barrier and gate in between them and the experience. So that was another theme of just considering whether it makes sense to have the NFT be a gate or a reward. And then this is a project, another VR project specifically around fashion. And I thought that this one was interesting because it could be a metaverse experience where the fashion is part of the metaverse, or it could be for brands to show off their latest collections and allow people to experience collections and try on collections in VR ahead of doing a physical purchase. So there's lots of multifaceted projects like this. And whenever we saw a project that was really big and awesome, the advice has been to focus on a small part of the problem so that you can look at the next month or 3 months and say, this is what we're going to tackle, and here's how it fits into the bigger picture, but here's an immediate problem that we can actually make progress on and hit some milestones with. So what's next with all these exciting projects? There are definitely some projects that are still getting their presentations and MVP prototypes created. So it's up to the DAOs if they're going to be honoring past the 6/6 end date today. For the onboarding DAO, we'll certainly be excited to continue talking to people about their projects and how things are going. So stay in touch. We'll be honoring the different stages of the projects that were set up for the hackathon, because we found them to be really helpful for helping people talk through first the idea, then getting some more specifics in a deck, and then being able to pitch it to both users that they would be onboarding, potential investors, collaborators. The deck always helps get momentum behind a project. And we also got feedback that the office hours didn't work out for everybody as far as the timing of them. So we're going to be doing office hours through more times of the day on a weekly basis, just to be sure that there's always that touch point for people and that we're accessible to talk through things. And for projects that are ready for it and are going to build, you can visit near.org/grants and get the support you need to bring the thing to life. And of course, DAO all the things. That is the theme. That is the biggest theme. And with that, I think it's a wrap. That's all I had.
Amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jordan. I feel like I just got I know that was just like a brief recap, but that was a wonderful recap of like the themes we saw and what everyone was kind of working on. And I think now I hopefully to see people kind of, as you said, talk to each other,
Yes.
start getting these ideas a little closer, and maybe starting to form some communities around some of the ideas and helping each other out. There was a question from Vandal that I thought it might be good to touch over quickly. Is there a master list of all the various DAOs? It might be easier than sifting through Sputnik, because there are some ideas I've noticed overlap with existing DAOs. So quickly on the overlap, I'll touch on that quickly. So you are free. So for Vandal, if some ideas do overlap on multiple DAOs, it is certainly fine for projects to submit for support to multiple DAOs. I would just suggest that they try and refine their proposal to be very specific to that DAO they're submitting to. So you might have a lot of information on a specific proposal, but there should be a specific reason for why that proposal is going to that specific DAO and not to one of the other various DAOs. On the topic of, is there a list of all the various DAOs? On the creatives category specifically,
we're laughing because it varies.
There's somewhat of a list, and so for the hackathon, that was the kind of setup of what that list looks like. So on the forum, on the subcategory underneath creatives, you'll see all of the creative DAOs that exist, that are like sponsored or parented by the creatives DAO. Yeah.
Yeah, to work on that a little bit, I think that when we're working with DAOs in this kind of chaotic environment, the chaos isn't necessarily a bad thing. When we see overlapping ideas, it's not necessarily a bad thing. The diversity is strength. And yes, it's great if the different projects that are similar recognize each other and have conversations and form community. But each one of them is also solving a very personal and specific problem for the people that are making those proposals. So even if we have 2 music projects or 2 or 3 projects that are onboarding like native creators, like those are all important things to be having a multitude of. So it's chaotic and it's messy, but that's not necessarily something that's bad. It can also be seen as a strength, and it's something that I've really enjoyed about the hackathon is just seeing all of the diversity and the ideas coming from all different directions, and just finding the ways they apply to different DAOs and themes and areas has been really interesting.
Yeah, and
So
I think this is
Vandal,
where
to answer your question, sorry, real quick, Vandal, to answer your question, no, there is not one all like sole truth list with all the DAOs ever, or specifically under the creatives category. There's been a proliferation of DAOs as a result of the hackathon. So I think it's been something that has been in discussion of having some easy to reference way or place, and whether that's the forum, whether that's something that's affiliated with nearguilds.com. Like there's been so many other conversations about that. So there's no conclusive answer yet, but you're right. We would like to get there in terms of just helping direct people a bit more easily to find where and who they could be connecting with is definitely going to be a part of Community OS as part of like the processes section. So yes, that is something that would be delightful to have in existence. And I have been asking for that. So we're same place.
So Vandal, on your latest point, like you said, if there's already I'll refine my question. I mean, those proposing to do DAOs, as some of our members have been talking about starting up an onboarding DAO. I think so. That's a great kind of question as well. Might go to like the more chaos type of point that Jordan was kind of saying. So on the forum is where you're going to find all of like I'll call them like whitelisted DAOs that like we've kind of onboarded as kind of like the near community team. But there might be multiple onboarding DAO. And I think someone had a great point where I think Federico. That onboarding DAO might be supporting a local community. That onboarding DAO might be supporting a certain language. So if someone in the music community wants to start an onboarding DAO to support specifically musicians, that would be perfectly acceptable.
Yes.
They would start a DAO. They would say our purpose is to support musicians in this. Maybe it's more local or more refined in scope. And the purpose could change and grow in scope. So I would say it kind of just depends what the group of people or the community wants to achieve. And for example, Jordan, on the council of the NFT onboarding DAO. And so maybe these people don't want to run their own community. They're like, okay, you know what? Let's just join the NFT onboarding DAO. Let's support that community and see how we can join in. And I would suggest starting there. If you've never run a DAO before, it might be a lot of stress more than actual benefit to your community. So it might start, submitting some proposals, joining a community that is run by a DAO, and then you can jump into actually figuring out what your purpose is and figuring out what a DAO might look like for you. But we will, and I think on Aaron's point about dashboards, we're always geeking about how to make it easier for the community to get this kind of information. But I think it is important, though, regardless, Vandal. If there are 10 onboarding DAOs in the community, it should be easy to know that, there's 10 onboarding DAOs, they service these communities. That's not servicing the community I want to service, so I'm going to start an 11th one. I do agree that we should have some sort of dashboard or some way you can kind of see what's out there and what might need to be created if you're so inclined.
The chaos of creativity is delightful, but having it be a bit more manageable and palatable and navigable is definitely something that at least I'm hoping to help bring through my role into this space a little bit, because it's one thing for people who are familiar with the system and have been using it for quite a while. And I like, this could be any platform. This refers to also my love-hate relationship with Discord. Like, if you know how it works, if you know what's up, it's so easy to get through it. If you don't, and you're trying to onboard yourself with all the things at once, it can be incredibly overwhelming. So trying to make things as easy as possible for as many people from different communities, in different languages, of different backgrounds, to be able to be onboarded into this space to then do what they actually want to do, which is create and collaborate and work. Like, all of this is lovely if you have that more of that technical mind that wants to troubleshoot in that direction. But and I'm going to include myself in this category. For many of us, we're just like, please, we want to do the things. We want to create the work. We want to talk to the people. How do we do that? And so just any sort of, I don't know, we're in a decentralized space, but having slightly more just like resource banks that are centralized, that can then be picked up and go off in any different direction that people want. That's the dream. And it's going to be lists. It's going to be templates. It's going to be playbooks.
Getting someone excited about organization and having an OS is great for the community. So this is the idea, that we will do the job of, agonizing over the small details of, what works and what doesn't work. Rebecca, as you can see, who loves organizing things for people across the community, will ensure that as you come to the NEAR community, there'll be wonderful playbooks or teaching you and your community how to onboard to these tools and get using them. Because, as we saw, there's different platforms to use. I know, Jordan, for your NFT onboarding, you were doing drops. I think you're using Paris so far with your NFT drops you're doing. And then I know there's,
platforms,
yeah, exactly. So you're already using a few platforms. That's already,
okay.
If you've been in this space, to you, that's totally normal. And I know Rebecca's sitting there like, oh my gosh, a few platforms.
Why?
What do you mean? Why? What's the why? What's the difference? What are you talking about? And now
we were literally before this event, I was messaging Chloe and I was like, oh gosh, there's another one. Why? They're beautiful. And do I need to set up another like wallet integrated pathway? Like, it's pretty, but what's going on? Like, what makes them all unique at the end of the day? Like, why? And this is my issue. I just came out of an MBA, and so the jargon is still strong with me. So I'm sorry, everyone, but I look at it and what's your value proposition? What is your unique offering? Because you look pretty and you look lovely, but like, what else is going on? And so that kind of detailed information, that's why, see, Vandal, one question and you got us talking for ages, because it seems so small, but it makes such a huge difference in terms of strengthening understanding, deepening interest, and just opening up avenues for creativity. Because if I'm looking at something and I'm like, oh, I don't understand it. I don't feel the effort within me at this moment to like dig into it to figure out more about this.
You can't be
so goodbye.
Yeah.
And then it just goes away. And then you're like, oh, well, that's lost potential. Like, that was a lost converted lead into someone who could have done something really cool on that platform. And you'll never know. And so it's trying to avoid that and make it a bit more just, damn it, approachable. I want everyone, as Chloe's like roped me into this world, I'm like, oh, damn, I guess I got to do the same. I got to figure out ways to get other people here, because that's the point. That's the next step, right? Like, the whole point of Web3 is open to everyone, inclusive to everyone of all levels of understanding. So let's figure that out together, folks. Let's
exactly. And I think
more
that
conversational
point
points
right there is like, that's what we're all trying to figure out, is like, how do we Web3? Yes, it's open. We're talking about open source tech. We're talking about the open web, but it's still at this point kind of hard to use for many people. The experience isn't necessarily open to all. And so part of, Rebecca, so glad to have you on the squad, because part of that is figuring out, having those playbooks to get your feet, wet and those, take those first few steps. Not everyone has the time or energy or, resources to have someone walking them through, which minting platform is best for you and your community. Or, if you want to set up split royalties, or which NFT standard should you use if you want to make sure your NFTs can go back across the Rainbow Bridge in the future. These are things like, or how do you ensure that royalties will, track across the Rainbow Bridge for artists? Like, these are all things that, if you're just coming in with your community for the first time, how do you know? Or like, even if you're creating a token on Token Farm, social tokens was thank you, Jordan, as well for sharing the stats link. I love kind of tracking through and seeing everything that's going on.
That's the closest to a DAO list we have. By the way.
And it's
beautiful. So thank you,
through there. But the social tokens DAO was very popular throughout this hackathon. But when you're going through setting up a social token on token farm, so tkn.farm, it asks you how many decimal. Thank you. It asks you how many decimal places you want to start your token with, as an example. So if you're used to the space and you've been around for a while, you might just use 18, or if you want to be funky and cool, you might use 24 to be a Yocto nerd, or you might see, or you might just drop it down to 12 and just be weird. But the point is, you might understand why you might choose decimal places, and you might know the difference. But if you're doing this for the first time, that might stop you right there. As Rebecca was saying, you might get through your first.
I'm already lost.
Yeah, you might go to your fourth info, form and be like, okay, I don't know what this is. I'm logging off. This is too confusing. And so having that playbook that walks you through token creation for your community, walks you through what should your token supply be, for what reason. I know Vandal, we had that social token workshop a while ago, and you were asking, what should my starting price for my token be? And technically, there's no difference, right? But psychologically, there might be. Different parts of the world might care about different dollar prices for their token and what they're using it for. So Obsium chose no decimals for his DIS token and broke Ref Finance.
No decimals for you.
Amazing.
So
that's the kind of innovation I want. It's like, never mind the no decimal point. It's not needed. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I love that. But yeah, see, if you've been in this space for a while, you might want to try one decimal place or no decimal places or all these different experiments. But if you're fresh to the space, your experimentation might be just opening the browser and logging in with your Near account. And that's wonderful. That's an amazing first step. But from there, you might need a playbook. You might need a step-by-step guide of, how do I send you your token? See, this is so I love this because Vandal's asking all the right questions today. So Vandal was asking me, how do I send your token, Chloe? So Leonardo's answering the question, CLI for now. And so this would be example of Wonderful, maybe. It'll be added to the wallet shortly on the UI, but you have to use the command line interface to do it. So if you created the token, you have a token owner, and you can go to the command line interface and say, I want to send a certain token address, a certain amount of tokens, and we'll get see, this is a guide we should get at least soon.
Yeah,
is a wonderful CLI guide for sending.
Yes, another thing to learn for sure. So there's going to have to be a lot of patience as we now try and match where the current learning is and where the interest is, and go back and find everything up until that point. So as part of my own personal hackathon that was also known as my work, I was trying to hack how do you build a playbook for guilds. And so, stay tuned. That's going to be real fun. These two haven't done their full editing of it yet, so it's not ready for public consumption. And when they do, oh my God, the edits I'm going to have to process. But it was my way of learning, right, of how the system works, how it can work. And then also simultaneous to that, this is the hacking part of how might it work better? What might be something that's that I can contribute as a fresh, wide-eyed outsider who knows very little, who's just seeing, okay, I'm hearing this from the community, I'm seeing this myself, what might be possible to bridge those gaps. And so these are the conversational points, just in the chat right now. Who knew? The Creatives DAO, as we're talking about it, it's really great to bear in mind that many of us who are a part of these conversations, because of the number of different hats we wear, you have one conversation with us about trying to find out what can happen for your VR project. And very easily that could veer into a direction of what could be the future of, on-chain governance. And then how do we let other people know about what's possible and how do we collaborate on that? That is the delightful randomness and chaos that just, please let us talk to one another more in order to open up those entryways into that kind of conversation, because that's going to have an impact on the entire community. And I think that's just the way that we've also been trying to operate the launch of this parent this parent DAO. This is a launch and a first revitalized or revamped way of distributing funds and allocating ways of support, all different kinds of support, as we've been saying, throughout the entire like creatives aspect of the Near community and the Near ecosystem. But this is the beginning. And we've kind of been creating a little bit of, I hope, a blueprint or a template for the other DAO verticals when they come up. So stay tuned. But then also for future discussions on what's possible in the space, right? Like this is just us sitting and being like, it's Chloe and me on a call being like, what? So how do we describe this? Or what makes sense here? Should we contribute something else here? And then also going back, if you look at the first guidepost that I shared in the chat here, and
Oh, you muted yourself now, just there.
That's hilarious. That was for dramatic purposes, everyone. You were not meant to hear what I was saying.
Everyone's paying attention. Everyone's like, what's going on
we
now?
lost them all. It's toward the end of the event already. But as part of like future conversations, hopefully, like that first forum post, that guide that Chloe and I were agonizing over, there's 11 edits on that right now. And that's the point. Hopefully there will be many more. This is really just the beginning for so much of this.
Right? This is kind of our hackathon as well, our ongoing hackathon project.
Oh,
where we're continuing
my
to
life.
hack at how to make this better. And as Jordan was talking about, as you just came on, Jordan, this hackathon was just an accelerator event for all of this activity in the community in general. So whatever kind of project or idea you have, even if you haven't gotten it fully submitted yet, please feel free to continue submitting your projects to the DAOs that you see on the forum, submitting to the NFT onboarding DAO. So get your community started with the creatives DAO, and you can kind of watch us hack away as well. So you can continue to watch our guides get edited. You can continue to watch our DAO purpose morph and change over the next few months and over the next few years potentially. And it's just, you guys kind of get to hack along as we hack. We're kind of all figuring out at the same time. So Vandal, your point, we're figuring it out together. We truly are. We are figuring out the most efficient ways of doing this. And we're not always going to have the right answers, but we're going to do our best and we're going to share it publicly and openly, so that the rest of you guys in the community can say, I think this is a great way of doing this. We're going to follow suit, or you know what? I think this could be done better. And please let us know. So this is kind of why I think Rebecca keeps sharing our details, because we want you guys to let us know. We're not saying we all have the answers. We definitely want the community to support how we run the Creative DAO moving forward. But it's not just the Creative DAO; it's all the other DAOs within the community and what's next for them. And so I only have a few minutes left. I'd actually love to hear Jordan. You are a council member on the NFT Onboarding DAO. You're on the community squad as well at Near. Maybe like from a council member standpoint, though, just of the NFT Onboarding DAO. I know you're planning maybe a name change. That's kind of a governance decision you guys kind of have coming up. The hackathon is going to end, eventually, even if you keep taking on old proposals. So there's got to be a kind of like what's next for the fund that you guys have in your DAO, because all the other DAOs are going to have to go through this similar type of process of like, are they going to keep the same purpose? What are they doing with their funds now? So kind of what might that look like for the NFT Onboarding DAO going forward?
Yeah. One of the things I want to circle back to before diving into specifically the NFT Onboarding DAO is just the thought of how accessible the ecosystem is to like Web 2 folks. And that was one of the things that actually got me really interested in Near in the first place, was how well positioned it was to welcome Web 2 users to the space. And we have a few like user journeys that we can have as defaults that we are getting towards a happy path for, where they don't have to figure out every little thing to have a successful experience with getting a Near wallet, getting an NFT, like making a vote on a proposal or participating in a community. So we're getting towards the point where those will all be smoother for folks that are joining from the Web 2 space. And then after they have a successful time doing that, there will be a whole plethora of things to explore, like we've been talking about. But we're getting towards the point where we actually have like happy paths that are fairly frictionless. So that's really exciting to me as one of the like broader visions and grand scheme of things. Bits that this hackathon has really helped us iron out like a good number of details for.
Yeah.
For the onboarding DAO in particular, we have a lot of ideas for what we want to do, and the onboarding DAO has been called the NFT onboarding DAO, and that means that we've gotten a lot of NFT ideas and a lot of onboarding ideas. So one of the things that we want to do is move towards the idea of it being an NFT social club, and making it be about the connections that people make with each other through NFTs, and maybe even turning it into a DApp that we have governance over, where it's about like an ongoing art swap or something like that. We're still figuring out exactly what that will look like, but that's kind of what we're thinking vision-wise. And as far as the funding goes, of course, we'll want to be supporting projects that came out with their ideas during the hackathon. And I think what's going to happen there is, in between hackathons, it's good to have funding around to be able to support projects. But then for the next hackathon, we've already got a kitty going, and we'll be able to support projects in the upcoming hackathons. And I don't know exactly when that will be, but there will be another hackathon this year.
There's always.
I was like,
take a breath.
I don't.
There's always
be
another
another
hackathon. There's always another awesome.
It's like already?
That's great, and I think that's just a great like brief intro, because I mean, people were kind of asking like Lenara was kind of saying it'd be great to hear more from these DAOs and get a bit more than just like the purpose, get more of an intro about the DAO, what they're working on, what their plans are. And I think it'd be great as we look forward to what these communities look like. It'd be great to know like what's the community doing now, right? What have they done in the past, but also what is this community doing in the future? What are their goals? If I'm going to jump on board to this community and support, maybe by doing some bounties or anything else, you know, what am I driving towards with this community? You guys are hilarious in the chat.
They are. I love it.
If anyone has any questions as well as we kind of finish up here with a few minutes left, please ask them in the chat or use the question tab. I know people who are here have already been kind of chatting away in the chat box, so please continue to do that. Rebecca, do you kind of have any closing comments as for the Creatives DAO as we kind of leave this event?
Yeah, I think the ongoing, I would say every day is a hackathon. So yes, it's true. It is. It really is. But it's only like everything that we put out and use and promote is only so helpful as it serves the community. So it's honestly, it has to be, we keep saying, you know, talk with one another, speak, like talk with us, let's all chat. But that ongoing dialogue is the entire lifeblood of this system. Like without it, we could be promoting and creating and putting work out there to help you. And these are like tools and resources, but it turns out that actually we weren't going about it the right way whatsoever, or it doesn't serve this specific subgroup exactly or accurately. And otherwise it just sort of like sits on the vine and withers. Like we want to be sure that what we're putting out there is what you actually want. So part of at least my introduction to Near, the introduction that it's been, which has been like through the hackathon basically, has been that there's a lot of excitement and there's so much energy, and that is exciting and revitalizing for us too. And so just like using that to have these conversations whenever people have time. We recognize you're busy, you're doing tons of really cool stuff generally, and this might just be a small portion of your life, but anything that you're dedicating to it, really excited to see through like the official council rule of Creatives DAO, and then also through the Near community. And then also that girl who's just like lurking in your Telegram channel. I'm really actually watching all the things as it unfolds. And I'm so jazzed and excited for what's to come for so many people. And I like that the hackathon has been this really just like invigorating time period that will probably, just spur all sorts of really great creative projects. So yeah, that's the note I want to end on.
Yeah, so I just dropped like our Creative DAO about section. You know, Jordan was dropping some awesome knowledge about where to kind of find info about each DAO. Hopefully we'll kind of have each DAO kind of going into the forums and updating what their purpose is and what they're hoping to do in the future. But for the Creatives DAO, we do have this About section. And so I know Rebecca's kind of saying, we need kind of communication going back and forth. So we're doing a lot of communicating to you guys over the past 3 weeks with the one-day conference, with 3 weeks of hacking and all these workshops and events. So thank you for being here and listening. We also would love some communication back. So as you kind of go through our guide or our About section, please feel free to leave replies and comments on anything you don't understand. And just put it right there. Just openly write anything you'd like right on the forum, and we will reply, and we will fix our guides, and we'll make the 12th and 15th and 36th edit.
Oh, there will be so many edits, so many.
To ensure that the materials that we have for you guys are efficient and helpful. So thank you so much, everyone who's come to all the events. It's been a really wonderful and fun 3 weeks. I've never had so much fun at a governance forum my whole life, and I used to work through the ETH research forums on my mornings at 4 a.m. So thank you so much, everyone. I love the ETH.
That was a little fun fact that you just released about yourself.
No one's gone through the ETH research forums. There's a lot of really good topics on there about governance and other research topics. But what you guys have been bringing for your topics here has been awesome as well.
Yeah, and everyone stay tuned for the MetaGov winner announcements. That's supposed to be coming here soon. It won't be a live event as such. It'll be in the chat. And it's going to be in tons of other places as well. So keep an eye out for that. And for future hackathons, future projects, all sorts of other exciting things on, all the official Near channels and then all the respective Guild and DAO channels. So many, so exciting.
So many channels.
So many channels.
That chaos a little bit.
Oh, get ready.
Thank you so much, everyone. And let's keep having fun building. Please keep building with us. This has been so much fun. So.
Thank you, Chloe. Everyone. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, everybody, for your participation.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.